Hey, yo, what it is and what's good, y'all? Welcome back to 280 Plus, the social media podcast where I take the conversations off the timeline and go beyond the tweets. I'm your host, Los Def, and I'm here back with another recap of the Chi episode 4. I felt like I just recorded episode 3, and yeah, we were a little bit late with putting that one out. And I'm just trying to be consistent even with these videos. Just trying to keep up with the show. I love the show, and this is the last season, so it's a lot going on, a lot of different events, and we're just trying to kind of culminate it, whatever. So episode 4 is called the ReUp. All right, the ReUp. And episode 4, man, they always have like one of those like montage scenes or whatever where everybody's kind of doing the same thing. And since this episode is called the ReUp, you see that everybody is kind of taking part in, there's certain lituations, everybody getting piffed out, in just different ways, whether some people are eating, the THC, some people are smoking it, things like that. Like it's getting crazy, but so that's what this episode is about. You have a lot of business dealings basically with this. And speaking of business, because I don't want to get too much into like just summarizing. I just want to talk my shit, whatever, about what's going on, whatever. And so one of the things that I noticed is that, like, as this has developed, whatever, Douda's like organization is like the most confusing thing I've ever seen, whatever. Like, and we've seen many different shows that had like different organizations and different ways that they kind of organize it and the hierarchy of it. And there's some bad ones on TV. Like I felt like Franklin did not have like a solid organization. Like he had like 5 people or whatever, but like he didn't have like a network, Even on Power, like I thought like the organization of it was like, it was trash, like, you know what I mean? So yeah, so like they're kind of going away from like, because Black culture, man, we adopt like a lot of like the Italian stuff, like when it comes to organized crime. And we seen different shows where they show like, oh no, it's people got different roles. Like on Raising Canaan, they got different roles. They like everybody has different roles, and there's a clear hierarchy. When we seen The Wire, like we seen like the way that the hierarchy works. There's just different shows and different movies. New Jack City, like we seen it. And there's different ways that these syndicates, these crime syndicates kind of operate. But Douda's is just, I don't know, man. I know that's not what the show is really about, whatever, but like this is the most organized little crime situation that I've ever seen, whatever. Like they are literally going up to random people to stash stuff away. Like, you mean to tell me y'all don't have no stash spot for the money? Like all that, like that's 101. Like that's what I mean? That's gang shit 101. Like you got to have a stash spot for the money, and then they don't even have a stash spot for the guns. So they just randomly just trying to pay people to like hold large sums of money, pay people to hold the all types of wild guns out here, whatever. So it and like they're literally just like pressing up on people like, yo, hold this, and then some people are like, nah, bro, I ain't doing that or whatever. And it's like, yo, how don't y'all have a stash spot? Like, or at least show us that the stash spot has been like raided or something like that. But don't just have us like thinking like, yo, y'all ain't got your shit together, because it's like, bro, stash spot, that seems to be pretty basic in terms of what you need if you doing activity that you ain't supposed to be doing. You know what I'm saying? So that was something that really stood out to me, in this episode. Another thing that kind of stood out to me, and this is a TV show pet peeve of mine, right? So like, one thing I don't like when I'm watching a series and it's going for multiple seasons, and then like we know the series is coming to an end, and this is supposed to be the last season, right? So one of my pet peeves is when they introduce new characters, right? And here's the thing, there's nothing wrong with a recurring character. Like if there's a new villain, that makes sense, whatever, right? If there is, or maybe it's just like somebody has a certain role, like that makes sense. Like for example, Vic, right? his chief of staff. He was the guy that was the campaign manager. Him being on the show now, like in this season, that makes sense because that Vic has a new job, and like this guy like works for Vic, like in his new job. So that makes sense, whatever. But what I thought was like weird was the fact that you got so one, we talked about the ensemble cast, so we don't see all the characters all the time. So randomly in episode 4, they decided, yo, you know what? We're gonna give Dre a character, we're gonna give her a character arc. You know what I mean? We're gonna give her arc, and we're gonna show, somebody from her past or whatever. And you know what? It's not just gonna be anybody from her past, it's gonna be her ex-fiance, whatever. We're just gonna random, like, we haven't talked about Dre all season for real. She's barely been in the show, right? And she really hasn't been that prominent in a while, like maybe since like season 4, right? You know what I'm saying? Maybe she was a little bit prominent in season 5, but season 4, maybe, you know what I mean? When she was getting cheated, I think that was the season that she got cheated on, whatever. Like, she has not been a major role, whatever. So they decided, you know what? Episode 4, and do it in the beginning of the season, but episode 4, we just gonna randomly pull this woman up. Yeah, I mean, we don't know who the heck she is, right? And she's gonna be kind of, I guess, working in the same office or same building as Dre. And then you reveal, oh, it's my ex-fiance, whatever. And this girl is like giving massages and doing all type of like spiritual healing and stuff like that, whatever. And then I just was like, what? Like, y'all didn't care about her character no other time. So like y'all want us to invest into a brand new character, I mean, out of nowhere. And then like, what's the point of it? Like, are you telling me in the last season y'all trying to use another woman to tempt Dre to cheat on the woman? Like if she was gonna get back, you know what I mean? If she was gonna do something to get back at Kevin and Keisha's mom, like, shouldn't she have done that like last season or the season before that, whatever? Like, y'all gonna wait till the last season? Now, one thing I gotta say about Dre is that Dre was solid though. Dre was solid. Like, she ain't, she was like, girl was like, oh, can we go get coffee? And she's like, no, I don't think that's a good idea. And she was like curving her. And then and just stay consistent. And so, all right, so it's like, so it's clear that, okay, maybe she has a little bit more integrity than Kevin and Keisha's mom. But it's like, why y'all putting this temptation in her face? Now, one thing too about that interaction was, it was the line that made, like, I did not understand. It was the most confusing line in the whole episode, whatever. And it was when the woman was the ex-fiance was talking to Dre, and Dre showing the pictures. He's like, oh, I got family now, I got grandkids, da da da. And then the woman was like, oh, I thought you always had a type. And then she was like, oh, my type has broken my heart too many times, so I had to get a new one, whatever. And then she was just surprised, like, oh, I didn't think you would mess with her. Like, I didn't think she was your type. And I was thinking, like, I didn't even understand what that meant. Like, I might have to get my homegirl DJ XL and Boss Brit from the No Homo show. I might need to have them like interject a little bit, because I'm like, what was she implying? Like, was it the only thing I would think would be the age, you know what I mean? Like maybe Dre steers towards a younger woman, but when it came to like appearance, like when she was saying type, I was like, what's so special about you? First off, what's so special about you? What's wrong with Kevin and Keisha's mom, whatever? And like, I was just thinking, like, you ain't, I mean, she wasn't all that to begin with. Now, granted, she ain't checking for me, you know what I mean? But it was just weird. I was like, what does she mean? Like, oh, I thought you always had a type. And that woman, and if she was saying younger women, that woman didn't seem that much younger than Dre. So like, that was confusing me. I was like, what she, first off, what's she trying to say? What's she trying to say? Was she trying to say that Kevin and Keisha's mom was weak? You know what I mean? Like, she don't look that good. Or was she talking about the age? And I would think she's talking about the age, but there's that whole narrative of like, oh, yo, I thought you didn't want to get married. And then she was just like, oh, I'm just not ready. Well, if you're married and you know what I mean, you left somebody, I don't know. Like if I'm gonna see you daily anyway at work, maybe that's when we could catch up. Yeah, I mean, but like, yeah, we don't need to have no coffee or have no kind of secret rendezvous. And Dre's, like I said, kept it solid. Was like, nah, like, I don't have to like explain to my fiance, like my wife, Like, oh, I was having coffee with my ex-fiance. So real solid, really showing the levels of integrity and honesty there. But they put this character in the show for a reason. So I think, I mean, I think that we're gonna get some temptation later down the road, but who knows what that's actually gonna look like. So that is that on that one, right? Another thing I wanted to sound out off about and just talk about, and I made a clip about this on Instagram too about Papa or whatever. So it's clear that I guess he got out of the doghouse, or you know what I mean, like I guess he took my advice. I mean, I didn't, you know, he wasn't, you know, maybe he was listening to me. I said maybe you need to turn this into a day date. You know what I mean? Like you need to do something with her, you know, during the day to extend into the evening or whatever you got going on. But you know, don't let your 11 o'clock curfew stop you, brother. Like don't let that block your blessings, whatever. So we see Papa and he's chilling with the shorty. They go bowling and then they meet up basically with the group of friends, right? It's all the kids of the show, whatever. And everybody is, it's like everybody has their date. So it's like I can't say two set because it's way more than that, whatever. But you got four couples and they're just kind of smoking and things like that. And man, Papa though, it's funny. This is the contradiction too. So like a lot of times there's girls, especially girls are always like worried that a man doesn't want to claim them or a young man doesn't want to claim them, like when it comes to like relationships and things like that. And Papa tried to be assertive and he was like, yeah, my girl, you know, and Shorty was like, I'm not your girl, whatever. And I was just like, damn, like she really had to, like she had to play him in that instance right there. You know what I mean? You know, was she doing it with, is it because she's embarrassed or whatever? But then I'm thinking, like, if you're gonna act like that, Shorty, if you're gonna act like that towards Papa, why are you with Papa in the first place? Like, why are you even entertaining him? You know what I mean? And but Papa, you could see, you know, he's trying to overcompensate, like with the maturity and stuff like that. I didn't know. I don't think I remember. Maybe I do remember Papa like hitting the L before, but like, you know, he was trying not to smoke. He kept saying like, "Oh, we got grown stuff to do," and it's like, man, bro, like you can clearly see the immaturity in what you're saying, and you're really trying to overcompensate. But I didn't like how the shorty played him though, and she was like, "I'm not your girl," and she had an attitude about that though too. Like that's one of those things where yeah, I think young people need to learn sometimes, like it's okay to have disagreements with people that even that you're dealing with or that you like or whatever, but just this idea of like, you know, correct me in private. You know what I mean? If you're not my girlfriend, you don't have to, and you know that's like an issue, whatever. For you, if I said something wrong, don't correct me in public. Like correct me in private. Correct me and tell me on the low, on the side. Even you could even do it then and there, but like kind of say something to me, like so that only I can hear you. You don't need to put me on blast because you really made Papa look real dumb. Now maybe he made himself look dumb, but at the same time, you could have helped him save face a little bit. You don't know them kids, like you don't know them other people. So like, and they're not your friends. So like, it's no consequence to you that they think that you're his girlfriend. It's really no consequence. And you know, I mean, obviously that's a lot of that type of stuff is semantics, whatever, but maybe it goes along the lines of like, well, maybe because he didn't ask her to be his girlfriend. So it's like, I know women don't like that either. They don't like when you assume that y'all are together instead of explicitly telling a woman, like, you know, explicitly asking a woman out or explicitly telling a woman like, yo, we are together. Like women don't like that vague assumption type stuff. So that was that. But I just I don't know, Papa. We'll see where this goes, but I don't see this lasting too much longer with this girl, and she just seems a little bit too. She's definitely in her head. There's things that she likes about him, but she's in her head about liking a younger guy, and it's just I don't think it's gonna bode well for Papa in the end. So. Well, one thing I'm glad to say that, and I love when I'm watching TV, and I love when I can kind of predict something that's gonna happen, and then I'm right. So, speaking on Rashad, like coming back to Rashad, so I said in one of the earlier episodes, I said, yo, I really think that he's about to he's about to get so desperate that he's going to do some things that could land him in trouble. Like he's going to revert back to criminality, so to speak, and doing some things. So we did see that he, the Jabari, like he kind of like he has some type of like friendship with Jabari, and we seen that like he got asked to do something, and what we notice is that it looks like they're basically like in a chop shop. All right, they're in a chop shop, and he's under the car, and I'm like, I didn't even know that he knew how to do anything like that, whatever. So he's in the chop shop, getting parts, whatever. And it was surprising to kind of see Rashad, because we didn't expect him to be there at that time. So he pops out, whatever. And then dude, I was like, yeah, man, there's I like to pay people for their time. And then he gives this, I don't even know how much money this was, but what Rashad said was, the last time I seen this amount of money, I was robbing a bank. So, and you think about like how much can you really get from a bank robbery? So, yeah, I mean, a couple, thousands of dollars, but he gave him like a crazy stack of money. Like it was like this, like it was like this. It was crazy. And I was like, yo. And but he was like, yo, it's a one-time thing. It's a one-time thing. So now we know, like, and I'm wondering, like, if, obviously they make it look like it's happening like right now, whatever, but like maybe it happened before, because I'm still wondering, like, how does this man support his habit of smoking, right? Like, how does he smoke this? How does he support this smoking habit? Because he don't got no bread. And it's crazy, because when you come across, this is where one thing about the episode that I did not like was that you got Rashad coming home with all this money, and then we see him later on in the show, right? We see him two other times in the show. We see him actually three. We actually see Rashad like three other times in the show. So, but we see him first we saw him with Vic and Emmett, right, at the crib. Then we see him in the chop shop. Then we see him at the rock center where they having that dialogue, and we'll talk about that dialogue in a second. And then we see him at dinner at Darnell's house, right? And they're having like a triple date. But they don't bring it, like, I'm surprised, like, we didn't see like him having to hide that money, him having to justify that money, him having to just be discreet with it, with his girlfriend, him maybe buying something just out of compulsion. And then people ask him questions like, oh yeah, I thought you ain't had no job, like where you could, like, that's more believable. Hopefully in the next episodes, like, we do see some of that. But we no, actually we seen him in another scene too, the very last scene where they basically tried to get him to hold the guns. Yeah, so like we seen him a bunch of times, but we never see him interact with that money. And that's a lot of money to hide. It's a lot of money to hold. It's a lot of money to spend. It's a lot of money to save, whatever. So like I thought it would have been more powerful if they would have had some type of plot with that. Like they showed him getting all this bread, but then we don't see nothing from that. And with a guy like that who's desperate and like who's in dire straits, they're gonna do some weird stuff with money. Like I think that's the reality of it. And we didn't see him do anything with the money. So I'm interested to see where that goes with that. But yeah, so what I was saying too was there's this was a good part of the episode too, where we get that male dialogue. So Vic, he has his homies, which Emmett and Rashad, like, if how they've been, and basically trying to do a check-in with them. And then he said, yo, come to the Rock Center and we're just gonna have a talk. And we don't know that this is gonna happen, but I thought it was cool, man. So they basically had a round circle, and it looked like a AA meeting or something like that. But it was really just a opportunity for these black men to kind of check in with one another, not talk about surface level stuff like sports and things like that, or not have alcohol and things like that, like just a sober, level-headed conversation about life and checking in, and kind of like the mental health aspect. And I thought, I looked at that, I was like, yo, that was good. That was a good scene. That was a really good scene. And it's almost like I wish they would have like parts of the episodes like that, like they would have those kind of like dialogues like more often. I wish I had dialogues like that with some of my friends. So like I don't know, like other brothers out there, like do you have something like that where you and your homies really check in? And I don't mean like, go drinking and then have a talk, but like just have a level-headed, sober, honest, open conversation with your homies. Do you ever get to explore that? And what is that like? What is that experience like? And what have you gained from something like that? So, but I thought it was important. We definitely, it's funny because with the ensemble cast, we see that they don't always, all their paths don't always intersect, but it was cool to hear them talk about different plot points that they're all experiencing, but that we don't see them experiencing together. You know what I mean? Like Marcus talked about with his daughter. You see Emmett and Darnell, that back and forth was powerful, and I thought was good. And I thought Darnell handled himself well in that situation because, like I said last week, I think he actually is a decent father, but he definitely fucked up, what I mean, for most of Emmett's life. And Emmett has not let that go. And Emmett is like really feeling the stress of like, what it's like to be in his position when he never seen what it was like to be in that position. So, and just the importance of having like male role models um, and not even just role models like the typical like, oh, I want to be like this person, but like literally somebody to model certain behavior for you so that you know what to expect and what to look for. So I thought that was good. I think though, Emmett does need to take heed to what his dad is saying. It's like you need to mind the company that you keep, because that was the main message of what Darnell was trying to talk to him. But I think Emmett has some resentment because his dad wasn't always there, so that he might not be willing to listen to him openly and fully. And but he needs to cut that out because his dad knows what the hell he's talking about. So other than that, in terms of like big plot points, yeah, I would say like Rashad, just kind of going back to him. We see that he mentioned that he was lusting over a woman, and when they had that dialogue, and we know who it is, but Marcus doesn't, I don't think, realize that he messed with Tierra before. So and it was just that scene where they were at dinner, and I think that kind of situation is always wild. Like if you've ever been with somebody and that nobody knew you were with, whatever, and then you see them with somebody else, just trying to kind of hold your composure and things like that. It was real revealing. But um Rashad though is speaking facts though, where and this is where it's tough. It's like, obviously everybody has their own issues, all right, but then sometimes you got to look at yourself and realize like, yo, there's people that would die to be in your situation. There's people. So sometimes, not that doesn't mean that your issues aren't valid, but it means that you have to be mindful of how you deal with things, and always maybe be optimistic and kind of look on the bright side. Because Rashad is like, yo, y'all upset about this, y'all complain about this, and he's like, yo, I want a sliver of what y'all got. And it's just constantly thrown in his face that he don't got a job, and he's struggling. And we seen at the very end, Jabari tries to get Rashad to hold the guns, and he decides like, no, I'm not gonna do it. Knowing Douda though, it's like I feel like Douda's gonna like, I don't know, since he already did some work for him and Douda had already paid him for something. It's like once you get in with somebody like that, like they're always going to keep coming to you and, bribe you and try to coerce you with the money. And eventually it works, especially if you're desperate, eventually it works. So I'm hoping that Rashad can resist, too much temptation and not get enamored too much by the money. And other quick hits, other things just to mention about the show, before we go and just like developing plots, right? So this is the first time I seen Rob really get aggressive with anybody, and so he presses Vic, right? He presses Vic, and he's like, asking him about his uncle, and he's like, yo, if I find anything out, you know what I mean, like we basically gonna have some problems. And we never really seen, we know Rob probably has that in him, but we haven't seen him get aggressive with anybody or kind of like try to put somebody in their place. And he kind of puts Vic in his place. The reason why that's developing was because early on in the show, we saw basically Rosalind, which is Candy Burris, right? She reveals to Douda, which is her husband, actually, she reveals to him that Q, Rob's uncle, was actually an informant. So the thing is, though, that kind of, they have to keep hiding it because, you know, he's culpable of killing him. But at the same time, I think that casts a shadow of doubt amongst the community, because if people know that he was an informant, that means that a lot of people probably want to get him out of here. So that kind of clears the air. But Vic was, you know, he knows about the crime, and he talks to Rosalind, Candy Burris, he talks to her about the crime. So it's like, so he's literally lying to Rob's face. So we'll see kind of where that goes. And because there's a conflict of interest, because Vic is friends with Emmett. Emmett is Tiffany's baby dad. Tiffany is Rob's girlfriend. And so like how these you know parties kind of clash. It's kind of interesting to see. Another development plot is just with this idea with Gemma and Maisha and Kevin and just how, I don't know, Gemma is really, I don't know what, she's really hard pressed on not wanting to go to school when she literally has a father that's like, yo, I'm putting you in school. Like, there, you know what I mean? There's no questions about it. And Maisha even is like, yo, it's okay. Like, if I don't make it with this rap stuff, it's okay. I can always go to college. But Gemma is just hard pressed, like, no, like she has to have it her way. So she's like, no, I gotta make it work with this music stuff and this music management stuff. So I'm, you know what I mean? Like I'm full steam ahead, but it's obviously causing tensions, and everybody seems to be concerned with what Keisha and Maisha might have going on. There's a lot of whispers with that. We'll see where it's going, because next episode we'll be at, like, I think we'll be at the halfway point next episode. So we should get a little bit more clarity when it comes to that. We saw Jake for the first time maybe since episode 1. You know what I mean? He's doing well with the business. I think we're gonna see like he's gonna maybe he's gonna get into like an influencer bag. Unfortunately, though, with a girlfriend like Gemma, I think Gemma, although she's good at motivating and kind of pushing, I think she's gonna try to like take credit. I think she's gonna try to insert herself into his business and almost take credit, and maybe damage their relationship a little bit. So I'm wondering what that looks like. We see Fatima, which is Vic's girlfriend, and we see her with her friends, and just this idea of like, I don't know, it sounds like she has friends that want her to be just like a stay-at-home person, a stay-at-home wife, and be taken care of, and all this and that. But I think one thing to think about is that I think the reason, because I'm thinking like, why are they so pressed about talking about this topic? And I think this is an interesting take, though. But this is what people got to realize about like the transgender community and things like that. And I'm only going off of like, you know, what I've seen in different other art forms and shows. People in the transgender community, they struggle with employment. They struggle with having gainful employment, because there's a lot of people that discriminate. Or if a transgender person, it does go into the workforce, I think a lot of times they feel forced to go back to assume their biological, you know, gender identity, you know what I mean, as opposed to kind of expressing themselves as a woman. So I think the goal for some, just like her main friend, which they call her mother type stuff, I think the goal is to like make yourself look as good as you can, right? And if you find someone that loves you, someone that will take care of you, and then that you can kind of be like the housewife, so to speak, because they was already mentioning like, you know, oh, you probably don't get paid that much doing that report and stuff, whatever. And you know, transgender people, they get harassed and they get chastised and they get you know, they become the center of attention when they are in the workforce. So it is hard for them to kind of gain employment. I remember I watched the show Pose, and now that took place more in the 90s. But like, yeah, like people people all over, even women kind of discriminating against them when they try to work in like woman centered industry. So like a lot of times you see these people, they work for themselves, you know what I mean? They're entrepreneurs. They gotta, you know, they do the nails, they do the hair, the makeup type stuff. But like, will you ever see, like, it's almost like you have to be established in something and then you know, do a transition, as opposed to like coming in as a transition person, or coming in trying to transition. Like, for example, there's that it used to be a part of Pennsylvania, like it worked, you know, it was like I think she was the surgeon general, but you know, transgender woman, and now I think she's like secretary of something like in the White House. But that person came into politics as a male, right? And then they transitioned after they were I think it's Rachel Levine, I think it is. And you know, that person transitioned after they were already an established professional. And then it's like, you can't discriminate against me now, you know what I mean? But I think they suffer way more discrimination when they're in the middle of their transition trying to enter the workforce, as opposed to already being kind of established. But I don't know, that's a touchy topic. But yeah, I think that's where that comes from, like that conversation. I think that's why they had that conversation. But and then the last thing that's kind of developing thing would be just this idea with Tiff and Rob, and them trying to get this business off the ground, this cannabis business off the ground, and going to Vic though to try to get a permit. And I'm like, I don't know if aldermen, you know what I mean? I don't live in a big city, so we don't have aldermans, but like I don't exactly know what aldermans do. But I can't imagine that they are in charge of stuff like that. I think I don't know. I'm interested to see, and I'm just interested to see like what is Vic, what is going to be his big accomplishment of this role, because that's the thing, we haven't really seen they haven't introduced like a community problem that he needs to solve. Like, so it's almost like, why did they put him in this position? Like, you know what I mean? Like if they would have seen that like a lot of people can't get jobs, or like if housing was unfair or something like that, and then you see him as a politician, he's fighting for that, that'd be dope. But like, we don't even know what he's really in office to do. And for the show purposes, why did they make him in office? Like, what is he trying to accomplish? But we'll see, man. We'll see. But yeah, we're almost at the halfway point of the season. I think it's going well. I can't believe it's the last season of the show. But we'll, you know, we got to check every week to find out, you know, what's happening, and how these characters are going to develop, and how they're going to close this out. So I'm interested to see it. So what do y'all think, man? What y'all think about episode 4, the ReUp of The Chi? Leave a comment below, leave a like, you know, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share it. You know what I mean? If you know somebody that's a fan of The Chi, and they, you know, they just like to kind of chime in, have them watch this episode, and, you know, have them encourage them to comment in the comment section, so we can have a little bit of a dialogue. But it's your boy Los Def, and this is 280 Plus. I'm out.